Good morning, honorable members, and good morning to all the professional staff that are joining us on this call. Let me just check for audibility. Honorable Bateman, I see you are on here. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Bateman. Let me just check as I work through this. By all accounts, I recognize Honorable Waitlin, Honorable Mkonto. I see Honorable Galaga Mazibu is on here. I see Honorable Siate is on here. And I don't see any other honorable members. Are there any other honorable members who are on this call? I just want to make sure as we begin this meeting that we can complete the full quorum of the meeting.
Good morning, Chair.
Honorable Ntuli, I see you there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ntuli. Yeah, I think we can, in that light, Mr. Mavane, if I'm not mistaken, the meeting will now can officially proceed given the presence of the members who are on here, and I see Honorable Douglas is on the call. So that in essence completes
we are beyond the quorum. Yes, we can proceed.
The meeting is correct. Can I ask you to flag the agenda for this morning? Thank you very much. Honorable members, this particular meeting is established with the sole purpose of considering and adoption of the report on the 2026 Division of Revenue Bill. A draft circulation of the Special Appropriation Bill has been sent. There are some inputs that I still await from various parties, and Honorable Waitlin and I had a conversation about this matter. And so we will hold off on the adoption of the Special Appropriation Bill in this regard, because the final report will then be circulated accordingly. And what I would like to do is I discussed it effectively with the programming team. The Special Appropriation Bill only has to be adopted concurrent with the Appropriation Bill itself. But we are working with the programming team to see when the most ideal time for that to take place. Given that, this is the agenda that is before us. I recognize that members have a number of commitments, and so we really want to try and keep a disciplined approach to the report. Honorable Waitlin, I see your hand is up.
Good morning, Chair. Am I audible and visible?
Both those things, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Chair, before we start getting into the meeting, I would like just to put on record with you. So, Chair, we made a commitment, and I understand that the MK party has got a funeral this weekend, and I accept that. In future, Chair, it really, to give you an idea, some of us had to stay behind because of this meeting, and we committed to a physical meeting. And we are very committed to finish the DORA report because it's critical for the country. I do request going forward, Chair, that we please commit to a physical meeting and finalize the matter once and for all going forward. This backwards and forwards is really disrupting a lot of our agenda and our travel arrangements. And I just want to place on the record with you, Chair, and I understand where it comes from, but really, Chair, this is really has put a lot of us into a lot of discomfort, and we are still behind, and we are still in Cape Town. And it puts us behind, and we also would have liked to be at home. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Waitlin, I completely understand what you are saying and respect what you are saying. Many members, I can speak about Honorable Sigede, who's on the call here today, had to go for a ritual ceremony and moved his flight to later on in the day. We did a call around yesterday because I prefer to table these reports on a physical meeting. And I think it's the only proper and correct manner to go about it. So I'd requested that a call around be taken, and then we had failed to reach the quorum on the calls that were taking place. There were certain members who were obviously out and others traveling, etc. I understand that these are special circumstances, and this particular bill is being considered under very, very, very tight deadlines and in very, very special circumstances. I will, in fact, Honorable Member, in this regard, you can appreciate I myself was meant to travel to another country. I had to cancel that particular meeting. I was meant to be doing a SADC meeting in Botswana. And so we've had to cancel that meeting in and of itself to remain behind and deal with the matter. So I fully appreciate the inconvenience that it has caused to everybody, and having to move on to a virtual platform was the last resort that we had. And so I take cognizance of your point, respect it, and note that in future, part of what we've got to try and do is stick to the prescripts of the timetable as it is. And I've got another meeting post this one with Parliament itself to deal with some of the contingencies that deal with how we go about this matter. So I take your point and I record it accordingly. Thanks, Honorable Wakeling. Is there a member who will move for the adoption of the agenda?
I do, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Wakeling. I see Honorable Douglas, you are co-opted as a member of MKP onto the committee. And so you are welcome, and you second that the adoption of the agenda. Is that correct?
That's correct, Honorable Chair. Thank you. I am an alternate on the committee and will be representing MKP. Thank you. And I second the motion.
Thank you very much. The agenda being duly adopted in that regard. The only apologies I have received for this particular meeting on a virtual platform, I effectively, let me just go through some of these. Honorable Kwankwa, as you know, has had a personal matter that he's attending to, and so he was not able to make it. And Honorable Kamete and Honorable Sigete will join in a little bit late. Honorable Kalega Mazibubo is with us in this meeting, but obviously and naturally, she is out of the province, and so we are going to face, she's going to be in and out of the meeting. I think that covers the respective points that I have as far as apologies are concerned. Are there any other apologies that I need to note?
Thank you, Chair. I think we've covered all the apologies. Only to note that Mr. Honorable Squati will be attending as an alternate, as a co-opted member from the ANC as well, given the fact that Honorable Kalega Mazibuko might be in and out. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Squati, welcome. It's good to have you with us. Let me then, in the light of that, Mr. Maubane, the first item on the agenda is the motion of desirability. And so I will then ask if you could move, if you could read it into the record, and then we can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chairperson, honorable members, colleagues, and all on the platform. Motion of Desirability, Division of Revenue Bill B6 2026. That in the opinion of the committee, the legislation is desirable to provide for the equitable division of revenue raised nationally among the national, provincial, and local spheres of government for the 2026-2027 financial year. The determination of each province's equitable share, allocations to provinces, local government, and municipalities from national government's equitable share, the responsibilities of all the three spheres of government pursuant to such divisions and allocations, and to provide for matters connected therewith. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Mashile. As Fisher, I see your hand is up.
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson, and good morning. It's just one thing. It's B5, not B6 of 2026.
Yes, can we amend that accordingly, Mashile? And then if you can, Denver, are you in control? Can you amend it accordingly? Denver, can I get a confirmation that it
It's
has
been
been
amended,
amended?
Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Is there a member who'd like to move for the adoption of the motion of desirability?
Chair, I do.
I'll
Thank
second.
you, thank you, Honorable Waitlin and Honorable Douglas. This is the doubles team. Is well at work. Honorable members, given that this is a virtual platform, we are going to go through the report. Thank you, Honorable Bateman, for the notes that you sent me. I would like to ask that when we get through those particular sections, if you raise them, and then we'll make the corrections as we go. We have to go through it meticulously just to make sure that all the pages have been agreed to, and then we'll get to the recommendations at the end. Honorable Waitlin, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just want to get a sense from you. There's a number of submissions I've made, and quite a number of them have been agreed to and submitted in a report. However, after the fact, we received feedback from National Treasury, and which relates back to my original submission. Would you like me to deal with them at the end, at the recommendations, or would you like me to? Yeah, I think it might be at the end, Chair, if that's fine with you, because there's quite a few things.
That is fine. And then keep in mind, in looking at some of the submissions that were made, some of them pertain to the Appropriations Bill rather than the Division of Revenue Bill.
Yeah.
And so we had to separate which goes where, because we're dealing with two separate pieces of legislation, and the Division of Revenue Bill deals with very specific items. And
Yeah,
so in many instances, we have to make sure that we are talking to items that are on the same bill, noting that a report on the Appropriations Bill is still on its way. But we will get to it at the end, if that's okay with you, Honorable Waitlin.
Yeah, it's actually just two matters, but I will deal with them at the end, Chair. That's fine.
That is perfectly fine. Will you, Denver, please put up the bill as it goes? We will go through it page by page. Honorable members, may I ask if you've got something to raise, if it's possible for you, I will not take exception to it, but will then request of you, if you can, just to indicate by raising your hand, and then we will go through it. If I don't recognize your hand and we are on a particular page, please feel free to unmute and then be able to make your inputs as we go. This is the draft report of the Standing Committee on Appropriations dealing with the Division of Revenue Bill, B5 of 2026. Is that the correct tagging, Denver?
That's correct, Chairperson.
Thank you. And so, therefore, in the light of that, we will go through it page by page as we go. Can we begin with page 1? We can then proceed to page 2. For those who are joining us online, particularly the parliamentary streaming service, etc., these pages deal effectively with the background to the bill, how it was processed, which sections of the community were engaged, given the fact that we also had public hearings, etc., and we also had virtual hearings. And so these pages, these introductory pages, deal with such matters. Page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, pages 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, page 21, page 22, page 23, page 24, page 25, page 26, page 27, page 28, page 29, then we get to page 30, page 31, page 32, page 33, we can then proceed to page 34, page 35, page 36, page 37, we then proceed to page 38, page 39, page 40, page 41, page 42, page 43. Page 44. Page 45. Page 46. Page 47. Pages 48. Page 49.
Chair,
Yes, Honorable Kalagama Zibugo, you are recognized. Yes, Honorable Kalagama Zibugo. Honorable Mazibugo, you are recognized. You are on mute, Honorable Member.
all right, thank you. Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm just opening on that page, I think it's 14.1. We are on observations, right? Because my pages, I don't think they are the same as your pages, but if we are on observations, I would like to make an observation.
We started now. We are, as you can see on the actual document itself, we are dealing Denver on finding and observations. Yes, that is correct. So your point is on 14.1.
Yes, Chair.
Yes, will
Yes.
you make your submission, Honorable Member?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. Once I'm still on the platform, Chair, the ANC Chairperson is of the view that we cannot welcome non-tax increases withdrawals. You know, as this is lowering spending, hence reprioritizations that impact critical programs. We therefore then, Chair, propose that 14.1 reads as follows. The committee notes and welcomes, and then we propose the deletion of the withdrawal of the 20 billion tax increases that were previously filled in for there. So we would like this sentence to read as follows. The committee notes and welcomes 2026 budget, including inflationary adjustments to personal income tax brackets and medical tax credits after 2 years with inflationary relief. Then the following sentence should read, the committee is still of the view that government must consider investing more resources to enhance SARS capacity and explore other available tax revenues. And then it can go on as done. So we are proposing that amendment, Chair, and we shall submit as such if need be on 14.1. And also on 14.
Wait, Honorable Kalagama Zibugo, let's deal with one point at a time.
Okay.
Firstly,
okay, thank you, Chair.
Maybe I hear the point you are making. When you read the budget, and I'm asking a question and I'd like to hear different inputs from various members. When you read the Minister of Finance's actual statement, is that National Treasury and the Minister of Finance celebrates the view that the proposed taxes have been withdrawn. On our very first engagement with finance and all the various committees, this was part of the successes that National Treasury had said in reflection of the fact that the work that SARS had done, the work that had been done through the TARS program, had alleviated the tax proposals of 20 billion rands. So I'm trying to balance that opinion that National Treasury hold relative to the point you are making that we should not welcome the absence of tax increases. So I'm just trying to keep those 2 points in mind.
Of non-tax increases.
Okay, Honorable Kalagamazibo, let me hear other members and then we'll put a summation on there. Honorable Douglas.
Mr. Chair, yeah, I think I'm in a similar vein because the reality is that even though government aims to destabilize debt and reduce deficits through expenditure restraints and a fiscal anchor, the debt stabilization is prioritized over development. I think the challenge for us is that we really need to have a situation where the tax relief, I mean, we objecting to the whole submission, obviously from our point of view, because we don't feel that the actual way that the tax structure is structured benefits the poor, and there's no wealth tax included in regards to this. And especially when it comes to TARS, Mr. Chair, there is a claim of savings of 12 billion rand through efficiency and reprioritization, but these are not savings, and it's being presented here as savings. But in actual fact, it's cuts to frontline services and reductions in transport, grants, infrastructure, etc. So for me, this is not worded correctly. We need to make sure that and TARS is in the next, I think it's in 14.2 or 14.3, there's a reference to TARS as well. And from our perspective, what we need to do is we actually need to focus on where we need to increase our tax revenue. And our tax revenue isn't just by cutting, it needs to increase by getting more wealth into the fiscal economy. And the reality is that, we need to replace TARS with waste elimination and anti-corruption recovery funds. And we need to audit the irregular expenditure, etc. So from my perspective, Mr. Chair, I just think that, we're not happy with the formulation, but we will register our objections as we go along.
No, I hear you, Honorable Douglas. Honorable Wakeman.
Thank you, Chair. Before I support or not support, can I just get clarity from Ma'am Khaleke? What is it that she wants to see happening with the change? I just need to understand from practical terms, what does she want to, or what is she actually foreseeing happening based on what she's suggesting? I just want to get clarity, please. Thank you.
Okay, I'll get Honorable Kalagamazibo to respond. Mr. Makapula. Your hand has gone down.
Thank you very much, but I'll be short because you've covered me. Because basically what we are saying here, it's exactly more or less of what happened last year to postpone the budget two times to the third until we had budget 3.0. So we are probably, it's because we had a problem with tax increases. So any move that seems to postpone any tax increases that will affect South Africans, I think it should be welcome, unless we are saying what we did last year in that budget 3.0. So suddenly there is a change in view that we are encouraging National Treasury to increase taxes. So I think the point itself, I will propose that it remains as it is, but when we go to what Honorable Douglas is saying, we can say anything about TARS if we want to expand it, whether we want to make a point about how we can expand like our tax revenue base. But I will suggest that, and I will plead with honorable members, anything that postpone tax increases to the South Africans, it should be welcomed by everyone. Thank you very much.
Honorable Kalagamazibo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, the point we are trying to make here is that we need to enhance SARS capacity, because if SARS is capacitated, because remember at the end of the day, the government needs finances. I mean, the fiscal. So I'm saying what we want to encourage here is the capacitation of SARS to collect revenue
Honorable
to show that but
Honorable Kalagamazibu, your signal is bad. I am losing you. I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I'm struggling to hear you. This is why. So is there any other member who is also struggling to hear Honorable Kalagamazibu?
Yes, leader, we can't hear properly.
Yeah. So signal on your end, Honorable Kalagamazibu, is not working. Do you want to try again? Honorable Kalagamazibu. Yes, you can proceed, Honorable Kalagamazibu.
Chair.
Yeah, now I can hear you. You can proceed.
Okay. Yes. So I'm saying, Chair, our motivation here is for the capacity of SARS to collect and have enough revenue. Hence, we're saying we actually having a problem with welcoming the non-tax increase withdrawal of the 20 billion rands, Chair. Because the state still has to fund social services and to run government. So hence we have that part that we were adding of the increase of enhancing the capacity of
SARS. Okay,
SARS.
I've lost you in the end there, but I think I've got your point, Honorable.
So maybe the team can find the way to phrase it, but yeah.
Yeah, we're losing you there, but I think I've got your point. Honorable Wakelin, do you want to make your submission? And then I'd like to move on this point because I think I've got a sense of where Honorable Kalagamazibu wants to go. And I think there is, Honorable Wakelin.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So these are two different aspects. Enhancing the capacity of SARS is one aspect, and that we can support. And we said that previously, that continuously supporting, because they have not achieved the targets that they set themselves out, as we know. But they have done well, but they haven't received, they didn't get to the point that they were supposed to be. But increasing a 20 billion rand tax increase, we cannot support that, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Wakelin. I want to ask the member here from National Treasury. I see one of them is here. Maybe to give a hint as to what these tax proposals were aimed at. So in other words, if there's a 20 billion rand tax proposal, was it personal income tax? Was it tax brackets? Was it general sales tax or VAT? Or where were they targeted at? Potentially. I mean, and if there isn't an answer to that question, that's also fine. I just wanted to get an understanding of that because I think that goes exactly to the point that we are all trying to make. Is the member from National Treasury? I don't know if you can respond to the question.
Honorable Chair, Wendy is with us. Wendy, do you have a bit more insight? Honorable Chair, I also recall in last year's budget that funding was set aside to strengthen the capacity of SARS. But on this specific question, I'm not sure, Wendy, if you would be in a position to comment. Alternatively, Chair, if not, then we can find the information and submit it urgently to the committee.
Chair, if I can,
Wendy, thank you. Yes.
Chair, if I can come in here, what was determined last year when the fiscal framework for 2025 was determined, and it covered 2025, 26, 26, 27, and 27, 28. In that proposal, it had tax proposals that in 2025, it was projected that there is a potential 20 billion tax increase. it was based on the assumption that if SARS cannot meet its targets, if we cannot find sufficient savings in the budget, that the 20 billion increase is needed for 2026-27. So when we came to the 26 budget, that projection was determined that when we determined the fiscal framework, that sufficient funding is needed without injecting the 20 billion to fund government priorities due to both the improvement in tax collection by the SARS, but also due to the TARS process. So savings were identified there. And maybe just to touch on the TARS, it does not adversely impact on service delivery. That is where savings are identified for inefficiencies, and it is generally put back into projects and programs that are priority, that are experiencing financial challenges. Thanks.
May I give a few directives to the question that Honorable Kalaga Mazimbugo is raising? Firstly, Honorable Kalaga Mazimbugo, there are three separate points that you are making. The first is that government should never shy away from expenditure that benefits poor citizens. On that point, I would argue all of us are in complete agreement. How the funding of that program occurs is a function of multiple streams that we need to think through quite carefully. And on the first, of course, there's a point that must be made about what savings can be done. The second might be the point about the efficiency of tax collection, which the point that you are making about SARS is not lost on us. And I think creating an efficient South African revenue service in order to collect revenue is a point that is well accepted. But surely all of us could also agree on this particular point, that every time ordinary citizens, whether it's through VAT, whether it's through personal income, whether there isn't an increase in the tax burden that citizens themselves have to shoulder, I think it's a welcome relief. And the point that I want to make is that this year's budget has a primary budget surplus, indicating the fact that the elimination of the tax proposed is not having an impact on the proposed expenditure that was going to go into social savings. So in essence, through other mechanisms, you've been able to create enough of a savings buffer to fund the very proposed programs that you wanted to put on the table without having to burden citizens with additional taxation. So I would argue that your point is on the additional savings, additional expenditure going to SARS in a way to be much more efficient in increasing revenue can be made. But I think that it would be amiss of the committee not to accept the very essence of saying that you are able to provide a primary balance. All departments, when I look at the broad expenditure, have had a inflationary related budget increases. I think very few have had adjustments or cuts effectively to social expenditure. So to me, I think it's a very progressive thing that in some ways doing exactly what the committee had asked National Treasury to do last year, to say, don't VAT tax people, find savings, find efficiencies, find SARS so that you can fund the same programs. I think it should be something that should be welcome. And so I think we should leave the point to say the withdrawal of the 20 billion rand tax increases is welcome. That was previously proposed. Compensatory of the fact that much of it comes from the fact that there have been savings identified through, whether it be cars, whether it's through whatever. And then the point that you're making, I don't have a problem with the additional revenue spend on the upgrading of SARS in order to curb the issues such as illicit financial flows, increased compliance. And then I think the point about raising measures like taxation on online gambling, is an important point so that citizens themselves are not having to shoulder the burden of funding, or if you like, of them being increased in their taxes in order to achieve the same. So, Honorable Gallagher Mazibuko, may I ask that the point must remain to say the committee welcomes the withdrawal of that, but also that the committee would like to see an increase in the funding of SARS in order to attend to the questions that you've raised, which are about dealing with illicit financial flows, looking at issues like online gambling, etc. Is that agreeable to you, Honorable Member? Because I think I take your point, but I think, as I've explained it, I think it's one. Certainly, if you were to have this conversation with the Minister of Finance, I would argue that the point about welcoming it is an important achievement. Forget where the money is. It's an achievement to table a primary budget surplus without having to tax citizens more. Tells you some things have worked out in the interest of all the people. Honorable Gallagher Mazibuko.
Yes, it's fine, sir. We can continue. Yes, I'm okay with it, and I'm fine, Chairperson, with your summary. It's fine. We can continue.
Thank you, Honorable Gallagher Mazibuko. Mr. Makapila, the point that is being made there, I do think as a committee we would welcome a submission that encourages an increase in how we fund SARS, an increase in SARS funding. Now, the quantum is not expressed in that, and the committee can't go into that. But it is the improvement of efficiencies, which is an economic enabler in terms of tax collection. Can we include that point, Mr. Magakula? It's on 14.1.
Yes, I can add that, Chairperson, but just to remind you and the honorable members of the committee that SARS was given, that SARS last year, around, I think it's the MTPPS or the main budget, they were given about 3.5 billion. I don't know whether, or over that MTF, I don't know whether we want more in addition to what they were given last year. But if that's what is it, the point has been talking much about it, I can add that. But I just want to remind you, SARS was given over 3.5 billion last year. But it's fine, I can add that point. I don't know whether we want more in addition to what we've already given SARS from the fiscals, but I can add that point. Thanks, Chair.
I think the point to be made is that it's the welcome efficiencies on revenue collection and the improvement that SARS can improve more in collection of revenue. And I think the policy issues on online gambling, etc., really do allude to how we can redo taxation. Honorable Waking, yeah?
Chair, I want to request, and just hear me out, that we possibly refer this back to National Treasury to investigate the possibility of increasing support to SARS as opposed to us telling them that that's what we want, because we don't even know what is the value required and what because here's the point I'm looking at is a return on investment. If we're going to invest a further 3 billion, I would like to see a different tax increase, tax collection, let me rather put it that way. Then we need to get a return on investment. So those figures and those estimates and develop and those formulation has to be done by National Treasury. And I would request that we then request that National Treasury go back and determine a possible further investment in SARS as opposed to us telling them that. Thank you, Chair.
No, Honorable Wakeland, I take your submission. I don't think anyone is prescribing what the fund is, but I can tell you as night follows day, in fact, I'm doing SARS's annual return next week. I'm attending that. The point is the capacity to fight illicit financial flows is a broader conversation we need to have with South Africans. But I do think SARS are incapacitated to fight that battle alone. That's a fact. So I think rather than it being about the quantum of money, but for National Treasury to revert back on additional support that can be given in order to strengthen SARS's ability to combat illicit financial flows, perhaps as a conversation. But additional support is needed. I can tell you, as night follows day, that's a war they are fighting with very limited bullets. So, Sfiso, if you can couch it like that and communicate it like that, I think that would be helpful. I thank you, honorable members. I think there's concurrence on this matter. We can keep going then, honorable. Now we move on to 14.2. Or the point about TARS is still coming up later, so we will make that as we go. 14.2. We move down that page. I think it's on mine is 52 on the screen. I agree with you, Honorable Kalagamazibugo. These that pages sometimes can be different for different people, but we are on the screen on page 49. Page 50.
May I come back on 14? May I come back on 14.3?
Yes, Honorable Kalagamazibugo, you are. It's the yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Yes,
Chair,
Honorable
we
yeah.
agree with the. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clearly.
Okay, Chair. No, I'm saying, Chair, we are agreeing with 14.3. We would, however, wish to make an addition after the rebased to align with the lower medium-term inflation outlook. We would like to put a comma there and say which further lowers its growth in real terms, leading to limited parameters to increase public investment. So if the committee allows, we would like to make that kind of addition. Thank you.
Honorable Douglas.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think the numbering and it's very confusing. That there are definitely different versions that we're busy looking at. But just in terms of the 14.3 that I have in front of me that I see that we be speaking about, we want to reject the framing of reduced expenditure as a neutral issue. The 19.4 billion reduction is actually for us austerity in practice, regardless of the inflation adjustments. This will directly impact service delivery and deepen inequality as far as we are concerned. So, we need to redress this and we need to look at it and from our perspective, change it. But we just want to notice again our objection. Thank you.
Robert Douglas, your objection is noted. I think the point is the reduction sits within the budget. It's almost stating facts, but the fact that the ideological point you are making is noted. But I'm just saying that we need to be clear what sits in the report and what sits in the document. The renumbering issue is a function of different software types that we're dealing with. But let me recognize Mr. Makakula and then Honorable Waitlin.
Exactly, Chairperson, what you are saying. I just want to maybe plead with honorable members. Some of the things we are putting facts here, which is what is in the budget documents. But from a political point of view, there is nothing wrong in the debates in the House to raise your objections about some of the things which are in the budget. Like, for an example, that point, we are not saying as a committee we agree with it as well, but we are saying we are noting it. It's a factual point which is in the budget book. So I will suggest and I will plead with honorable members. Some of the point as a committee, this is a committee report, and some of the points you can debate them on the House, and then if you disagree, you disagree. But now we are noting it as a fact, which is in the book. But you can disagree with it. But we are not even as a committee saying we agree with it as well. We are just noting it.
I think, Honorable Kalagamazibugo, the additional formulation that you put, I don't particularly have a problem with it. I think it strengthens the point even more so. I'm inclined to support the additional point that there's the additional amendment that you are putting forward. If you could type it and put it on the chat or on the group so that we can be able to incorporate it accurately, that will be helpful. Honorable Waitlin, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Let me first and foremost agree with Mr. Makabula. I agree. This is a committee report. It's not a party report, and there is a parliament that we can debate this matter. The second point is that we possibly will see another decrease in expenditure in the following year because of the efficiency gains. It's not necessarily about not spending, it's because of efficiency, Chair. So you possibly will find, and that's the point I want to later raise around TARS, that because of the TARS program and we're driving this TARS program, you find further expenditure decreases because of efficiency and not necessarily expenditure that is not happening and not utilized. You find possibly the same work be done with less money because we have got more efficiencies in departments, and then possibly other reasons as well, like the early retirement will might add to this non-interest expenditure decreases, Chair.
It is noted. Honorable Kalagama Zibuko, can you make your point so that it is well recorded so that I know what the formulation is? Honorable Bateman, you are recognized.
Thank you very much.
Sorry,
Wait, Honorable Bateman,
sorry.
just hold on 1 second. Let me finish this point. Unless Honorable Bateman, you are wanting to comment on the point that Honorable Kalagama Zibuko is making, or is that a separate point?
No, so I would just like to be able to just think a little bit about what the Honourable Ngaleka Mazibuko is saying before we comment in favour or against. I just need to digest it a little bit. So if she could put it on the chat and we could then maybe just have a few seconds or half a minute just to consider it before responding.
Correct. That's all I was asking. Honorable Kalagama Zibuko, will you proceed?
I will do that, Chair. I'm going to type it and put it on the chat. And I would further propose, Chair, that as you go down the pages, maybe you mention the numbers. It's easier if you go like 14.3, 14.4, something like that, because the numbers are confusing. Yeah, thank you. But I will type it and put it on the chat. No, thank you.
But in the meantime, Honorable Kalagama Zibuko, can you repeat the amended statement you wanted to make? Because while we wait for you to type, we can't move on to this point. We can't move off this point. It's got implications on 14.3.
Okay. Yeah, Chair, let me read the whole paragraph. The committee notes that non-interest expenditure decreases by a net 19.4 billion in 27 and 28 compared with the budget, with the 2025 budget, mainly because baselines have been rebased to align with the lower medium-term inflation outlook. The addition we're saying, the outlook we're talking about, we're saying which further lowers its growth in real terms, leading to limited parameters to increase public investment. So that's the addition we are proposing to the committee. And I think, Chair, the argument by the content advisor that we should debate in the House, it is disadvantaging the committee to come with the proposals in this meeting today. The reason for this meeting is for the committee to come with proposals, whether the committee agrees or don't agree. So the discouragement to say we should wait for the debate, I don't think it is proper. Thank you.
No, I hear you, Honorable Kalagama Zibuko. I think it was on the questions that are ideological in nature, not the augmentations that you are making. The augmented view that you have raised, which states that it limits parameters and decreases it in real terms, I'm comfortable with, and I think it is in essence, because it was the same point that was made by the FFC and in their recommendations to say, whilst the increases are inflation related, in real terms, they don't match the expenditure that is required to meet the programmatic bit. So, but if you type it into the chat group, Honorable Bateman.
Chair, I think maybe we need to just drill down into this a little bit more. I'm concerned that there's a non sequitur in that phrasing, and I'll explain why I say that. If we say that effectively, the budgets go up from year to year for a inflation adjustment. Now, what's happened is we're expecting lower inflation, so the increases have been reduced. They're still going up, but they're going up by less. That's what that 19.4 million means. And the increases now, because they're going up at inflation, are designed to maintain the real spending power of the budget. So if we say that they've been decreased, the increases are less, or the expenditure is less by that amount, mainly because the baselines have been rebased to align with the lower medium-term inflation outlook. What that's saying is, to maintain the real purchasing power, the nominal increase doesn't need to be as great. So if we were to make this statement logical, we would have to say mainly because baselines have been rebased to align with the lower in medium-term inflation outlook, and I can't remember the exact wording that the honourable member used, but if we substituted the word nominal for real, then that would make logical sense. But if we're saying because the baselines have been rebased to align with the lower medium-term inflation outlook, which means that the budget has decreased in real terms, that is actually not logically consistent. I would submit. Now, if it is true that there's a kind of a catch in the word mainly, and maybe what we're saying is the rebasing is inadequate, then that would be a separate point. So we would have to say that we observe that although the baseline has been decreased in nominal terms, we are concerned that the decrease is not just enough to compensate for the lower inflation, but it's actually been an even bigger decrease, and that has actually undermined the spending power in real terms. That would be a separate point. I don't know if I'm clear, but
Yeah,
explain what I'm saying.
I hear what you're saying. Well, I'm not sure I understand all of it at this point, but I think the wording that Honorable Kalega Mazibuko has put, maybe to reflect on that honorable statement, because I think the point is not inconsistent with that of the FFC in this regard, that has been typed in the chat, that it's a decrease in real terms, leading to limited, in certain instances, investments in public investment. I don't think, I think I can understand that point, but let me, your hand is still up. Is there any other member who wants to reflect on this particular point? I don't necessarily, I think that the amendment as proposed by Honorable Kalega Mazibuko, at least from what I understand it to mean, is not one that is disagreeable with the sentiment that the sentence seeks to express. Honorable Bateman?
Chair, I think if we wanted the sentence to read correctly, in a way that was logically consistent, let me just start with that point before talking about whether it's true in substance or not. Then we would have to say the committee notes that non-interest expenditure decreases by a net 19.4 billion compared to the 2025 budget, mainly because baselines have been rebased to align with the lower medium-term inflation outlook, but also reflecting a marginal decline in the budgets in real terms. Which will place additional pressure on service delivery, I think would be the main, because I think by public investment we're talking about the investment in our provinces and in our municipalities, which is largely service delivery related.
I hear you.
That's what's meant by
Can you make an
so in other words,
amendment
we're saying there's a concern that perhaps the adjustments or the decreases are overdone in the outer years, and that's going to put pressure on services. Then I think it's a point that's consistent, and then I think we just need to reflect back and see whether that's consistent with the facts. And I think that's a case of maybe just referencing again the submissions that have been made.
Yeah, I think they made reference in the FFC report. Honorable Kalagamazibuko, Honorable Bateman is making a textual amendment, not to the statement you are making. Can Honorable Bateman, can you type it into the group, and then we have to take a decision about the formulation so that we can add it. I don't think you are materially worlds apart from each other. The point that you are trying to make is to say, if in real terms you are adjusting expenditure lower, especially in the lower term, it limits its ability to deliver on services. I'm not sure that is a point that is, I think Honorable Kalagamazibuko was making a similar point, but maybe Honorable Kalagamazibuko, you can reflect and respond to that.
No, Chair, with the second input of Honorable Bateman, I don't think he is disagreeing with the proposal I've just made. Because as you really highlighted, FFC and PPO confirmed the real term decline. So I think we are together now there. We're talking about the decline on the real terms. So I think is the phrasing that he's changing. So it's a matter of playing with English words, or in my understanding. So yeah, let's see how the
will you
team
type
will
it in? Honorable Bateman, will you type it in, and then we will return to this point in a moment? Is that okay? Honorable Bateman, can you?
Chair, yes. So may I just ask, because I think what I would feel comfortable with, and I would like to just perhaps confer with Honourable Wakeland on this as well. But if we said, mainly because baselines have been rebased to align with the lower medium-term outlook, but also reflecting a marginal decline in real terms, which could place pressure on public services in the medium term, and according to the FFC. And maybe if we could, just as a committee, just to refresh our memories, just scroll up to the FFC report section and just find that particular reference that highlighted that point. But also, Chair, I see that my colleague, Honourable Wakeland, has his hand up.
Honourable Wakeland, yeah?
Chair, yeah. I think let's start with the beginning in mind. So let's go back to the FFC's response. I think that will give us clear guidance. We are happy to support, but let us just confirm what the FFC has really said so that we can understand what are they trying to get at, and then come back to this point and then textualize it properly. I'm not certain, because there's so many documents to read. If we can just refresh our memory again, please, Chair.
I hear your point. I think it's in the earlier parts of the document, in its broader disbursements of various grants. I can check where the statement is at. I think it was in the submission. Whether it's captured in the report as it is, we can then debate that matter. But it would mean really going, which I think the word that is there that I think would help this point is which could, not which does, which could further decrease its ability to that. That would be the amendment I would make to the formulation. So it doesn't say which further lowers, which could further, because but I will check on that submission to earlier on in the process. Let me just. We have to literally go back to the FFC's recommendations, and then we are going backwards and forwards on the moment.
Yeah, Chair, on your point, and I trust you on this, that maybe we can, that which could further lower its growth, and I think we can stand at that. That's fine. I think that will suffice, because it can go either way. Because I still believe that efficiency gains will also support the expenditure decreases. Anyway, Chair, but it's fine if we could, then it's fine. Honourable Bateman can maybe just confirm that.
Yeah. Honourable Sigeta, I see your hand was up.
No, Chair. I'm covered the statement of Mr. Waitlin, because my question was actually to Bateman. Does he actually want us to remove the proposal made by Honorable Galeka? But I'm covered now.
Right. Honorable Bateman, are you okay with that statement? I see your hand is down, so I assume we can move on.
So, Chair, I think give me a moment just to confirm the statement, but also reflecting a marginal decline in real terms. But if I can, subject to just checking that, which I'll do sort of quietly in the background here, and then if necessary, revert to you. Well, in fact, so I actually do think we need to check what the FFC said, to be honest, because if I remember correctly, it was more nuanced. I think it was the concern that the wage agreement had a minimum of 4% on it, and that was going to put that was higher than the expected inflation rate. So that hadn't been adequately built into the forecasts. So it's not quite the same as saying.
Having said what you said, I'm going to leave the word could in the sentence, and then if we come back later and you have a further objection to this matter, we will come back. I don't think it's. I do think it is captured in that sense, and then as you are saying in the background, you'll go back to it, and then we'll settle back on this point in a moment. Is that okay, Honourable Bateman? Can I do that? Then we can proceed.
Yeah, let me do a little research, and if you don't mind,
you.
just revisiting it, that'd be great. Thanks.
Can we keep going? Denver, 14.4, and then we move to page 50. As per what is in the presentation here, which I think steps into the conversation about TARS. Page 50, page 51. Page 52.
Chair, I've got a comment on 14.22.
Yes, Honorable Bateman, 14.22. Can you make a point there?
To substitute the word. Okay, hold on a second. The numbering has changed. In the version that I saw, there was a word discretion, desertion, that should have been discretion.
14.22, the committee notes and welcomes government's objective of maintaining fiscal sustainability. Is that the point you're trying to make?
Yes, no, but I need to find out what the numbering was because something has changed. Yeah. Just hold on one moment. Oh, sorry, it's 14.21. Just above. If you just go up one, at the end of that paragraph, it says left at the desertion of provinces. I think it's meant to be left at the discretion of provinces.
Honorable Bateman, I might hold a view about the desertion of provinces, but that's a side issue. That maybe is a battle I will fight on my own in the long term.
Okay.
And then we then move with that amendment. Can we get to page 50? Post the recommendation, we get to page 54.
Yes, 15.5. I have something.
We're not there yet, Honorable Member. We will get to that.
Okay.
Page 55.
Chair.
Yes, Honorable Wakelet.
Thank you. Chair, I just want to get the clarity. I think my colleague wants to speak on 15.5. I just want to get to 15.6. So I don't know what you want to take first.
You can proceed with 15.4 as you've
No, 15.6, Chair.
15.6, you can proceed with that.
Thank you. Chair, there's two parts. The one is that we're speaking in broad terms of tasks, focusing on the presidency, the minister in the presidency, to obviously make sure that the work is done correctly and that make sure the task is also implemented there. And I agree with you. However, I want to get a sense from you. What is it that you wanted to achieve with that? Because maybe in broader terms, we can say the presidency as well as other departments and SOEs and municipalities and the likes. I wanted to make it broader, unless you want to make it a separate point. But unless you've got a specific focus on, and I was quite surprised when you focused on that specifically. I don't know if you want to just explain that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Wakeman. I think the point I really am trying to allude to here is that at some level, when you look at the TAR's statement that emerges from the budget, it links, this is the statement made by the Minister of Finance, that it links the savings and the additional resourcing into the presidential stimulus. And so therefore what I'm trying to allude to is that one, yes, that's that, but we need to make sure that the PES is achieving what it wants to do, but equally so that that there are many other programs of government that are not, that I think more evaluation about their efficacy must be put on the table. That's really what I'm trying to achieve. It may be clumsily put there, but maybe Mr. Makakula, you want to make a comment here and then we can clean it up. But that's really what I'm trying to get to in its broader sense. It comes from the budget. Honorable Sekete, and then we'll go from, and then Honorable Wakeling, I see your hand is up. I'll revert back to you, yeah?
Would you like me to respond now?
Thank you, Chair.
Just hold on. Let me recognize Honorable Sekete, and then I'll come back to you, Honorable Wakeling.
No, Chair, mine was on 15.1.
Okay, Honorable Sekete, if you hold on about 15.1, I'll revert back to you. Honorable Wakeling.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's fine. I think the point I wanted to make around the task is the context of the broader terms of influence of tasks in other departments, SOEs and municipalities. And that's what we raised early on to say, but the task program needs to be expanded. And I'm not sure if we can put it in here or as a separate point, because that's something that we've, as a committee, agreed that the task matter must be expanded to other departments and the likes.
Yes, and certainly at the risk of trying to add new information, obviously it cannot be lost on us as a committee in reading the Auditor General's report on the current state of, if you like, regression, particularly around national departments, but in audit findings. And so not that audit findings are, if you like, tangential to efficacy or inefficacy of expenditure. But I certainly do think that the whole TARS program needs to be expanded across across all sectors of government. So I'm not in disagreement with that point. I think we can make it maybe concurrent with what has been said there. Can we finish? So can we just clean up the point there? That the committee is of the view that the program should also be subjected to the same evaluations as by SARS. And then I think there was a point about TARS earlier on. So Denver, I don't know if you can move up a little bit. I think it's 15.1 or 15.2. No, you can move down. Sorry. It's really on the TARS point. It was made earlier on. But I think regardless of where it is, so can you try and find it in the background, and then we can just try and update the fact that TARS should be broadened. I think I made the point that the TARS program should even move further. There are some provincial departments that are dysfunctional, etc. They just simply do not add value to this matter. Honorable Waketon, I see your hand is up. If it's still on the same point, and then I want to recognize Honorable Sigete, and then we can move from there.
Thank you, Chair. That would be my last point on the task. So, yes, my fundamental issue. And Chair, I've submitted almost, I guess about a month ago, you would know, an email with very specific questions around tasks, which I have still not received any submission. And the point I want to drive, Chair, that we as a committee possibly going to spend most of our time around the task program as well going forward. But we need to have a proper program and project plan to have an understanding how does National Treasury going to do the task program going forward. And I think that's the point I was trying to land properly to, and I've requested that before. We still have not received that. So that is the question I would like us to get answers on, and how the program is going to look like going forward, so we can monitor that, because we're dealing with mostly with all the expenditure, Chair. Thank you.
So, Honorable Waketon, and I want to, the programmatic aspect of the issue. In fact, I'm going to suggest that on our oversight visit to National Treasury, that becomes the subject of the day about TARS, at least for a significant component of the issue. Whether that speaks to the Division of Revenue Bill is an independent matter. I don't necessarily believe it needs to fit into the Division of Revenue Bill at this point in time. It will be programmed into the oversight visit that goes to National Treasury on the day when that matter comes forward. So I think if you make the submission, let's make it concurrent with what's in the bill. Honorable Bateman, let me recognize you.
Chair, there was a small typo in 15.5, if I might just pick that up. In the fourth line, it says property budget instead of properly budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Bateman. Honorable Sigete, let me revert back to you. Was your point adequately covered in essence? Sigete?
Chair.
Yes.
Mine is on 15.1.
Yes. What is the point, Honorable Member? It's just if we can deal with that.
Yeah, Chair. Mine is just, Chair, an addition maybe to 15.1. 15.1 reads as follows, Chair, that the Minister of Transport and Minister of Education,
yes,
maybe it must say basic education, ensure that the Department of Transport and Department of Basic Education, in consultation with National Treasury, speedily finalize the policy framework for the funding of scholar transport, and to provide both clarity and certainly on the full implementation of this government policy. And then it reads as follows, Chair. Further, this policy framework must give a comprehensive scholarship transport plan and its funding modalities to avoid learner fatalities on the road and safeguard the 13 million learners in South Africa. Now, mine is share is it's to remove that line which says considerations should be made on using dedicated lanes for scholar transport in public roads and it must raise policy must also provide clarity on the frequency in which scholar transport vehicles are to be inspected to determine their roadworthiness and apply minimum standards for scholar transport, thereby safeguard the lives of the learners. So mine is to put in an addition and apply minimum standards for scholar transport.
I'm happy with that submission, Honorable Segede. We can move on that score. Let me now go back.
And Chair,
Honorable Segede.
On 15.2, just a correction.
Oh yeah, you were saying, Honorable Segede?
It's just a correction.
Yes.
No, it must say COCTA, not GOCTA.
No, that's a different department, Honorable Member.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
I accept your point. No, I'm not joking. It is COCTA. I agree with you.
All right. Okay, thanks.
Honorable Mkonto, you are recognized. And then it's Douglas, then Waitland, then Aiton. Yes, Honorable Mkonto.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning to you and honorable members. Chair, on the same point, 15.1, as a committee, we talked about uniformity in terms of the implementing departments in the provinces. Remember when the scholar transport matter was brought to us, we realized that in other provinces, the implementing agent is the Department of Basic Education. In other provinces is the Department of Transport. So I think we have to recommend that there should be uniformity in across the country. Thank you.
Will you make the textual amendment or the statement, Honorable Member, so that it's captured in the report correctly? I don't think the point is disagreeable. Honorable Secretary, if you can mute, we are also in a meeting. Honorable Douglas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a short addition to 15.1. I think though we need to kind of encapsulate something that gives it a little bit more sense of urgency. We need to have maybe can we include a line that speaks about immediate implementation timelines and ring fence funding, and then also that be rural focused solutions, not only urban interventions, because that's one of the challenges that we have, is that it's very focused on urban. And the biggest challenges we have is in the rural communities and safety, and a lot of the accidents happen in the rural communities, and most of the road unworthiness of these scholar transport vehicles is in the rural communities. So I just want to bring that in somehow. And then also we need, as our previous colleague has said, we need stricter enforcement of safety standards to be included. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, it is included, and I want to say to you, Honorable Douglas, when this discussion was being had with the Department of Basic Education, the investigation, perhaps a report needs to be tabled within the committee, at least in the medium-term budget policy statement. But the universal access to public transport is a long-term conversation. So it was in a meeting. This is a recommendation that emanates from a meeting we had with both departments on one day. I wasn't sure whether you were there in that regard. But I see Honorable Ntuli, your hand is up. You will be next. Let me proceed to Honorable Waitland. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so first and foremost, we agree with Honorable Sikete and Mkonto that it must be standardized and there must be a minimum standard. We agree, Chair, and we can put in. Just to come back to the point of 15.5 on TARS, Chair, can we then just in simple terms agree that TARS and everything around TARS would be then pushed out to the appropriation bill as opposed to the DORA bill? And then we can, I'm not sure if the point of 15.5 is then also moot, because that also refers to very specific targeting the presidency on this matter. I just want to get clarity where you would like to put TARS, because if TARS is part of the expenditure model going forward, then obviously then it can go to the appropriation, and I'm happy to support that. Then that 15.5 could also maybe go there. I just want to get clarity from you on this.
My dilemma with that, Honorable Waitlin, is that yes, the PES as a recommendation, I don't want us to lose the point about there are certain provincial departments that are adding no particular values, and I think then if we're silent on DORA on that, the appropriation bills will deal only with the horizontal allocation of resources, and then we may in one aspect lose the point about the provincial assessment of efficacy and expenditure. Because we'll remember the Minister of Basic Education had raised the point that when it hits provinces, they make a decision about how to spend that money. And in certain instances, there's inefficiency in expenditure, and there's no thorough way of assessing it. So I think that is the point I'm trying to encapsulate. But let me recognize Honorable Bateman, and then I'd like us to move to finality about how we put the TARS text, 15.5, but I think there's been enough submissions on 15.1 to have kept up the point. Honorable Bateman, and I see you've typed a few things on the group.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I was just to draw attention to a proposed wording that I put on the group when we are ready to relook at that.
Okay, I'm going to park that matter. We will return to it at the end. Honorable Kalega Mazibuko, will you reflect on the text as expressed by Honorable Bateman while we deal with just this one other matter, and then we will revert back and finalize it? Honorable Ntuli.
Thank you, Chair. No, I just want to go to 15.4, where it reads the Minister of Mineral and Energy. No, it should read that the Minister of Finance ensures that the Department of Minerals and Energy initiate the process of reviewing the fuel levy regime, given the impact of every fuel levy increases on the economy and overall current geopolitical shifts around energy. This process must be undertaken urgently and in a transparent manner. Yes, we must delete that the Minister of Minerals, and we must say it should be the Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Honorable, and truly that has been recognized.
Yes.
Honorable Stukwati, I see your hand, and then I want to recognize Mr. Magakula. Honorable Stukwati.
Thank you, Chair. It's on 15.3. On the matter of the geopolitical shift impacting on the trade and energy and so on. And I thought perhaps what we might need to do in appropriation, because that matter is more relevant to the Finance Committee. Instead, rather the committee just note, instead of going into the matter, just note the geopolitical tension, because that is more, it's not relevant to DORA, it's more relevant to the Finance Committee. Thanks, that was
Noted, Honorable Sukwati, and then we will. I take your point. Its implications obviously are on the baseline expenditure that will then be funded through it. So that's where I think there's duality on the matter. But I do take your point that it may very well be a fiscal framework issue rather than as it sits in finance rather than DORA. But I take your point, Mr. Magakula. Honorable Ntuli, if your hand is still up, will you put it down unless you've got a fresh point to make? Mr. Makap.
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. It's just one point, man. At 15.4, can I request that, as Honorable Nduli has suggested, we go back to the Minister of Minerals and Energy, because the policy around the issue of the fuel levy, and the entire regime, it falls within like that Department of Minerals and Energy, and it's led by the Minister of Minerals and Energy, not necessarily National Treasury, because National Treasury shouldn't necessarily decide or instruct the Department of Minerals and Energy to initiate or review their policies. So I will still request that we retain the Minister of Minerals and Energy, because it's Minister Mantashe who preside over that policy. So I'm requesting that, Chairperson.
So my question for clarity is that who is the primary determinant on the levy and its increase, Mr. Makakula, in this regard, noting what Honorable Sukwati's point is, yeah?
Honorable Chairperson, maybe you can invite the colleagues from National Treasury to have a say whether the Minister of Finance has got that prerogative too, because the colleagues are here. He's here. Please, Chairperson.
Wendy, I don't know if you can give clarity on this point.
What I would suggest is, because to some extent it's a dual role, because certain decisions are made by the Minister of Finance and other decisions are made by the Minister. The policy, like correctly pointed out, is made by the Minister of Minerals and Energy. So we could make it maybe say the Ministers of Finance and the Minister of Minerals and Energy ensure that they review the fuel levy regime, because it will be a joint responsibility. Thanks.
Honorable Sukwati, I see your hand is back up, given that response.
Pardon?
Your hand is up. Is this a legacy point or is this a
No,
new
it's
one?
a legacy point, but I just wanted to again highlight that, now you are actually dealing more with the issues on the taxpayers. So I'm not sure whether it would be correct for appropriations to deal with tax bills. But I leave it to the committee. I just thought perhaps I should raise that one.
I hear you, Honorable Sukwati, but I think as I'd indicated, I do take your point in response, as it is, even in dealing with allocation to SARS, which was the earlier point. Some of those matters may sit well within the Finance Committee, but in some ways, in some instances, we're dealing with some of the expenditure. If it's okay with you, I'm going to leave it as a concurrence between Finance and DMRE as a review matter. And then we can also, the Finance Committee will make a similar recommendation, I think, and then we can take it from there. If it's agreeable to you, I'm happy to amend the wording for concurrence. Now, let me come back to the question that Honorable Kalega Mazibuko had raised earlier on, as it speaks to the point that Honorable Bateman was raising, so that we can move from that point. There's recommended reading that goes on to that about nominal increases are provided in key function groups such as health, basic police, and but the P observes that the real per capita spending is declining marginally. This could place pressure on public services. Honorable Kalega Mazibuko, the wording is there. I've given you time to reflect on that point. What is your view? Is Honorable Kalega Mazibuko on here still? I don't see Honorable Kalega Mazibuko on here. Honorable Ntuli, when you look and you reflect on the earlier conversation we had, would you say the point is adequately covered? I think the formulation strengthens further the point that Honorable Bateman Honorable Kalega Mazibuko was making. Maybe Honorable Sukwati, I don't know if you can, from that perspective, reflect on that statement.
What point is that, Chair? I actually lost. I'm sorry, I lost when he then said the statement. I wasn't aware with the statement was very.
It is the point that was made around earlier on. You'll remember the point that Honorable Gallagher Mazibuko was speaking about was the decrease in nominal terms or in real terms that could put pressure on public spending. Honorable Bateman has rephrased that to be more specific and highlights the fact that where it is referenced in the committee and I think the sentiment that Honorable Gallagher Mazibuko, I'm wondering in the chat group whether it's been captured accordingly. Honorable Nduli.
I'm still looking at it. It was which point 15? The numbering, Chair. I'm looking at the numbering.
It would be on 14.3.
14.3.
Yes. Which was the point that Honorable Gallagher Mazibuko had raised earlier on.
14.3. Let's go to 14.3 to see how it is amended. It's amended, but also the continues that the non-interest have been by. Yes, I think but reflecting a marginal decline in real terms, which could place pressures on public service in the medium term, according to this, which could further lower its growth in real terms, leading to limited parameters to increase public investment. No, I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
So, honorable members, in reflecting on that question, and I think, firstly, I think it is a fair reflection of what Honorable Gallagher Mazibuko was trying to allude to, and therefore, in the light of that, may I make a suggestion that it be agreed to and amended on the point that has been put as per that. So, Denver, if you can include that and then clean up the textual bits, and then we can move from this particular point. So in essence, if I can just sum up, because I can see there might be confusion as to where we are in the process, I have noted the point that Honorable Douglas had made. Now we are on page, we were dealing with committee findings and recommendations. So with the amendment being agreed to, we can then move straight to page Denver. We can get to page 50, I think it was page 51, because on my side here, and these were, as we started to get on to, can you get to, we can keep going down. We've dealt with all of these pages. No, you are going in the wrong direction. Yeah, now. Correct? So we were on 54 and there were amendments that were made and those were agreed to. Now we move on to page 55. Is there a member who'd like 55 is where we are on the screen. Honorable Skete and Honorable, and then we'll move to Honorable Wakeling. Honorable Skete.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I think we are fine with 15.5, but we just want to make an addition, Chair, which reaches followed. I don't know, will it fall here or maybe on under the recommendations, but that the National Treasury to report biannually to the Appropriations Committee on the implementation and spending of funds allocated to address disasters in Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and Eastern Cape.
So you are making an amendment to 15.5. 15.5, yes. So your amendment, I apologize, the honorable member. Which section are you when I look at it? The climate change, you are wanting to list the particular provinces. Is that what you are suggesting, Honorable Skete?
No, what I'm suggesting, Chair, is that an addition be made that that the National Treasury to report biannually to the Appropriations Committee on the implementation of the spending of funds allocated to address disasters in the 3 provinces in Mpompom, Mpumalanga, and the Eastern Cape.
Got you. I don't think. Yeah, that's fine. Normally, and I'm careful about this because effectively National Treasury does report to this report when they table the budget, and in the medium-term budget policy statement, naturally the point will be responded to, and the tabling of the budget next year, the same point will be made. So I think to make the point, it's a process that happens anyway, because every time the budget is tabled, the responses are being fed into the thing, Honorable Speaker. Honorable, so can I take a view that says that we don't need to include that recommendation, given the fact that it will come in the responses in the MTBPS and in the budget at the start of the year? Okay, okay? Because these things have to be responded to anyway. Honorable Speaker?
No, Chair, I hear you.
Spiso, what did you want to say as your hand is up?
Chairperson, I just wanted to add to say we don't even have to wait for the MTPPS, because in the last point that we're making, we are saying National Treasury must respond 6 months after the National Assembly has passed this bill. So I'm just emphasizing we don't have to wait for MTPPS.
Yeah, that's fine. Honorable Douglas, you are recognized, and then Waitlin, Honorable Sekwati, and then Mr. Ponzo. Honorable Waitlin. I mean, Honorable Douglas, I apologize. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a short point. Could we try and find a way, and then this is just something that I want to float, is can we establish a dedicated climate and disaster fund to manage this particular issue? I'd like to, because right now it is still very much up in the air. So, and then to prioritize community resilience in that regard. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Honorable Douglas, the point that you are making, may I suggest we've got a meeting with National Treasury on Tuesday. May I ask that you raise that point there and it can form part, because what we can't do is we make observations on the division of revenue bill. We can't invent policy as we go. So can I ask you to raise it at the meeting with National Treasury on Tuesday? Happy times. Honorable Waitlin.
No problem.
Chair, just a point on task again, please. If we can just clean up that and decide which way we go.
That's which bullet point? Honorable Waitlin? 15 point? 15.6.
15.6, yes, Chair. I
Yeah.
just want to get clarity.
Okay.
Just two matters. The one is that this specific point can also be moved to appropriation, because we're going to deal with expenditure and then the expansion of the TARS program into the other departments and SOEs and municipalities. I concede that we could utilize that in the appropriation, and this point would then be moved then in this on this matter, or should it move to appropriation?
Given as the only limitation is I was just a bit nervous about the provinces, but I'm hearing the point that you make, and I'd be happy to withdraw it and then save it in terms of for the point about the appropriations bill. Honorable Support, your hand has come down. Are you withdrawing or? Honorable Squatty? Okay, I think that point is covered. Honorable Douglas, is this a threat hand or legacy?
Legacy, apology, legacy land. Thank you.
If it's okay, Mr. Magakula, the point here about the PES, etc., we can remove 15.6 and then put it as a recommendation that will go into the appropriations bill. Is that fine? Then I think we'll deal with TARS specifically when we deal with the appropriations bill. Mr. Magagula?
Sorry, Chairperson. We 15.6, it's relevant here because if you look at the funds that are allocated to the presidential employment stimulus, some are coming from the grants that we are dealing with within the division of revenue bill. So we can make the point here and make it in the appropriations fine. So because some of the funding, they've been moved from grants and then we are dealing with the grants now in the division of revenue bill. So it's still relevant here, Chair.
So, Honorable Wakeling, given that its relevance sits here, I think some of the point that you are wanting to make, it doesn't change the fact that it can also be included in that, but I'd maybe spread it out a little bit more, Mr. Matapula, that it must equally show the TARS program. It has anyways as a resolution included to deal with SOEs and all of that, but I'm saying to me that the efficacy in provinces must also be included. That's the only other point I would like to strengthen it because it sits here. Honorable Wakeling, your hand is back up. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I understand that this one's particularly focused on the employment is stimulus program, which is a very specific program and not reflecting on a matter of capital projects. So that's the point I'm trying to make. My big concern lies in the capital projects, in efficiency there, as well as operational expenditure. And the question is, I just want clarity, and just as a principle, it will affect provincial departments, municipalities and SOEs. And as long as it's captured somewhere that we can speak to that and track it, my bigger problem is the practicality of the implementation of the program as opposed to just the fundamentals. Thank you, Chair.
No, that's 100%. So maybe the wording that the committee is of the view that the program should also be subjected to several evaluations, that program and other additional programs that sit within provinces and municipalities must be subjected to the same evaluation offered by TARS. Would that be a fair augmentation to the point you're trying to make, Honorable Wakeling?
Yeah, that's perfect, Chair. And SOEs?
Yes, so it's all in there. So it says the committee is of the view that the program should also be that. The committee is also of the view that provincial departments, SOEs, etc., must be subjected to the same evaluations offered by TARS. You can list some of them.
Yes, Chairman.
Yeah?
Yes, I think we've made. Wait, Mr. Denver. I think we've made the point somewhere just down when you go to the pages where you said I must include the cities, and the municipalities. So when we go down, we will reach that point. Then we will add the provinces there, Chairman. I think the point is here in the report.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was made further on. So, Honorable Wakeling, let me hold this point. We will keep going. Let's keep going, honorable members. Page 15.6.
Chair?
Yes, Honorable Wakeling.
In fact, I just wanted to thank Mr. Makakula to include my submissions. I see a number of them appearing in that page. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Secretary.
No, thank you, Chair. On 15.8, Chair, there is a line which I want to ask maybe to make a change. Let me read the whole sentence, Chair. That the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs ensures that National Treasury and the Department of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs conduct a comprehensive assessment of the first-year implementation of the performance-based urban development component of the UDFG and determine whether measurable, must it not reach measurable outcomes than improvements in asset management? Chair.
I'm trying to unmute. You said, so you said whether measurable
outcomes than measurable improvements in asset management. Maybe to remove the improvements and put in the outcomes. That's my take, Chair.
I'm not sure that you can, I suppose it becomes measurable. Can I hear views of other members on that particular wording? I'm comfortable with the word measurable improvements because I think it speaks to the sentiment of saying, how do we get this thing moving forward? I'm not, let me hear Mr. Makarapula, maybe if you can respond to that point.
Yes, Honorable Chair. I will still suggest that, Honorable Skater, we move with the improvements because this is an incentive grant that has recently been given to these municipalities. So probably we want to see, we are saying in this point, we want to measure whether there is improvement in what the grant seeks to achieve, basically, or it's just about giving money to metropolitan municipalities at the expense of other municipalities. So we are saying we need to see improvement at some point, whether the grant is achieving what it is intended to do. So I will suggest that we continue with the improvement.
Okay, Honorable Waitman.
Chair, there's just two matters. I think what Mr. Makugula tried to encapsulate is that there is some movement in tracking that the grants are spent well, and outcomes possibly would look at a once-off project outcome as opposed to improvement over a period of the medium term. So, I support Mr. Makugula, but there's a second matter, Chair, which I just want to put on here, if I may. Do you want to first deal with this?
I want to finish dealing with this matter, otherwise it's going to be, we get all over the park. That's why we lose your inputs. Honorable Mkonto, is your hand down or?
Chair, I'm covered by Honorable Waitlin. I wanted to second Mr. Makakula to say improvement sounds better than looking at the situation and the intended objectives. Improvements sound better. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I move on this matter? I think Honorable Sikete, we've covered the point about improvements, and I think that is the point we were trying to make rather than outcomes, because outcomes are predetermined. You can end up with an NDP type of outcome. So let's measure real improvements and then put it there. So if I can leave the wording in the way that it was expressed, and then we can move to the next point. Honorable Wakeling, can I rule on that? And then we've dealt with that issue. The word that will remain there is the word improvements rather than outcomes. So let me get Honorable Wakeling, your next point.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. So when I did my submission, and I raised this before, there are two matters for me that is concerning. The one obviously refers to the project execution or project management, and I'm happy with that wording. But there's a second part to that is contract management or contract. Because we found that contracts are also, if we could include after project execution, contract management and financials, because my matter is around contract management as well, because there's a massive issue around contract management in all of these projects.
Which point? 15 point?
Yeah, same point, 15.8. Just further down, if I could read it to you, determine whether measurable improvement in asset management, project management, contract management in particular, and then financial sustainability.
Okay, I think that's a fair point. Are there any objections to that particular inclusion? It's contract management and the point that Honorable Wakelin has made. There being no objections, can I ask that Denver and Fiso, if you can include just those wordings in terms of contract management, and what was the second word you used there, Honorable Wakelin?
Chair, that's fine. Exactly as it is standing. That's perfect.
Okay. We can then proceed from this point, honorable members. Can we move down to Denver? You can keep going, page 50. If you keep going down, 56, and then page 57.
15.
Chair,
Yes.
Sigede.
Wait. Please put your hand. Okay. Let me start with Honorable Ntuli and then I'll move to Honorable Skete. Honorable Ntuli.
Oh, thank you, Chair. On 15.12, it should read that the Minister of Finance ensures that National Treasury report, we must eradicate immediately, report to Parliament the full cost benefiting analysis of involving implementation agents, DBSA to roll out, such as DBSA to roll out infrastructure projects on behalf of municipalities, while ensuring that maximum funding reaches actual infrastructure delivery rather than administrative overheads. The Minister of Finance must ensure that the National Treasury reports to Parliament biannually, not immediately, biannually. That not when that intervention occurs, that there should be a report biannually.
So the wording that comes through here, if I attend to the point that you are trying to make, Honorable Nduli, is the word you are wanting to use is cost benefit analysis? Because okay, so then the word is cost benefit analysis, not cost benefiting analysis. So, and then if I understand you correctly, is the question of biannual reporting on the implementation of agents like DPSA. Let me hear Mr. Makakula and then I'll get to Mr. Wakelin. To Honorable Wakelin.
No, thanks, Honorable Chair. No, I mean, I'm fine with what the Honorable is suggesting, because we have seen these things of immediately becoming problem. But my point is on 15.13, Honorable Chair. That's exactly what I said now, the point that was made by Honorable Clean on the issue of TAS. That's then we can add like the provinces there in that point.
Okay,
that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Wakelin.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. The point that Honorable Ntuli is raising around 15.12 is a very important point. And yesterday, I see that Mr. Mashile has submitted the feedback from National Treasury exactly on this point. And I just want to put it on record with Honorable Ntuli. If you read that report or the feedback on my question, that cost there is between 5 and 7% of total asset cost, total budget cost. So that's a massive amount of money. And she's correct, and I concur with her, and we will support that. But I think it's also important that she maybe have a look at that feedback we received from National Treasury. And I'm happy with the biannually feedback twice a year. That's good enough. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Skete.
No, thanks, Chair. Chair, mine was on 15.11.
Okay, well, let's finish this point that Honorable Ntuli is making. Honorable Bateman.
Thanks, Chair. Also 1511.
Okay. If we're all happy with the point that Honorable Ntuli is making, it's the cost-benefit analysis involving the implementations of agents like DPSA and the biannual. I'm happy to support that point is sustained and will be included as such, as has been clean. Now, let me go back to 15.11. Honorable Sikete, you go.
No, thanks. Chair, 15.11, that first line, National Treasury is being typed twice. Maybe one must be removed.
Okay. Okay, I take the point. And Honorable, it will be removed. Honorable Bateman.
I'm covered now. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. That covers that. Let's move then to page 57. No, I apologize. Where are we? Yes, 57. And then we are near this concluding part.
Yes,
Can you-
Chair.
Yes, Honorable Ntuli.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Again, on the page 57 on 15.3, which read that the Minister of Finance ensures that National Treasury considers extending the task to SITAs, COEs, and municipalities to achieve savings similar to the savings that yielded from the improvement targeting the reduction of fraud in social grant system. I am there actually not to waste time. I want to read this sentence that on public transport network or the committee is strongly of the view that if this model were to be extended and implemented fully within local government, supported by building internal state capabilities, including assessing cost benefiting trade-offs and evaluating insourcing versus outsourcing options objectively. Huge amounts in savings can be realized that can be reinvested in order be reinvested in order to objectively huge amount in savings can be reinvested. That can be reinvested in other pressure points within local government. I'm sorry.
To alleviate pressure points. That's we talk about the alleviation of pressure points. So the point is building internal state capability. Yes. Is there any other point subsequent to that? Mr. Makakula, can you respond to the point that Honorable Ntuli is making?
Chairperson, firstly, I will go back to what we said earlier. Maybe let's add including provinces. But at the point that Honorable Ntuli is suggesting, wait, Mr. Denver, on the point that Honorable Ntuli is suggesting, I will say probably we shouldn't sound as if we want to rebuild the model that National Treasury is using on the task, because there is an already a system in place as to say what is it that, how do they do this evaluation? So if we are saying including internal state capability, and we might sound as if now we want to add on what the model includes. So if we are saying they must extend the model as it is, if it's working, then it's working. So we might as well adopt it as the way it is. So that will be my view. But if the committee feels strongly that we should add that, we can. But I think the model is working as it is now. So let's first see whether if we extend it to these other state institutions, can it yield the same results? That will be my submission, Chair.
I hear you. Let me take Honorable Wakeling.
Chair, thank you so much. Obviously, you just need to include the word provinces with regards to the task. Thank you. I see the point now. But the second part, which relates to the transportation model. Chair, that was the first question I also submitted to National Treasury. They gave us a feedback yesterday. And my issue is more around the risk management after the effect of this decision, which results in 30 billion rand of commitments that still has to be paid by municipalities. And my concern is, Chair, I am not certain, because the feedback has been given that there's a technical team compromising of National Treasury and Department that's busy to do a deep dive in the technical aspects and scaling back of the grants and so forth. The point is, Chair, there is still a 30 billion rand risk associated with taxi associations and the payments back to for these transportation routes. I'm not so sure where we should my concern lies around the risk of that 30 billion. And I don't know how to deal with this in this report. That's my concern, Chair. It was submitted yesterday late, and Chair, I don't know if it should be here somewhere, but it is something that we need to keep, not forget about. It's 30 billion rand of commitment and risk. Thank you, Chair.
I take your point, Honorable Wakelin. On that particular point, I don't think it can fit into this report, given that, if you like, otherwise we'll never have a finished report. We could always have live updates as we go. So your point is not lost to me. I'm going to ask the Secretariat to capture the point. And then what I'm going to suggest that we do, in the same way as there were some outstanding matters that came from other reports, that when we effectively then deal A, with the appropriations issue, but also B, that in our reporting, that we keep that in mind. There's nothing stopping us from effectively writing a formal letter to National Treasury to request that type of information, because it can sit independent of this report. I don't think it can fit where we sit here right now, Honorable Wakelin. Is that okay with you? Yes, I think we can do that. So coming back to the last point, Honorable Ntuli, your point that was made, has it been sufficiently captured in what was made in 15.12?
Yes, Chair, it has been sufficiently been covered. But again, when I look here, I don't know, one is being confused by the numbering and what I have. I see that there's no 15.14. Is it there? I see now it's 16 committee recommendations here on the screen.
Yes, it's a new section that we deal with that brings the conclusion to the report. Yes.
Oh, I wanted to add 15.14, which reads as that the minister and department to ensure a balance is made when reprioritizing funds to ensure impacted areas of spending are sufficiently funded in the medium term to mitigate against the decreased allocation.
The decreased allocations to what, Honorable Member?
The decreased allocation on where maybe the funds are mostly needed. And then when you decrease the allocation, you must spend on where it's necessary. I think it goes hand in hand of that we must do mostly, work with what we have. On the matter of insourcing, rather than using most of our monies on outsourcing, because it takes mostly on chunking a lot of money by outsourcing. But when we insource, most of our money remains with us, but where outsource when necessary. I think it goes in.
Honorable Member, the debate about insourcing and outsourcing is at least at its first basic level, a fairly ideological one, because it talks to tendering, it talks to how we deal with it. On the second matter, which you raise correctly, is that it needs to go into this fundamental question about whether the compensation of expenditure losses that need to be created. There was a point really about TAS that deals with it, and TAS can evaluate. We can ask the question more eruditely about whether there's an evaluation of which model is effective, whether you insource a service or you don't. But I really do not believe that it can sit in this report. And secondly, and more importantly, at its best, we can really put it together when we deal with the appropriations report. Can I request of you, Honorable Member, that point be, if you write to me, I will have a look at it thoroughly, so that it can be considered for the appropriations, and then we will deal with it on Tuesday. Honorable Ntuli, is that okay with you?
No, it's okay, Chair. It's okay, Chair.
Thank you very much. We then move to the last point, which is 16, which is the recommendations that are there, these are fairly standard, and that the report be duly adopted. Is there any additional matter that a member would like to raise? If at all, I think we can move to whether we adopt or not adopt, given all the edits that are put on the table. Honorable Wakeling.
Thank you, Chair. Just a matter, I want us to circle back to the Randstad SA formulation that they utilize when they do the allocation. Are we still going to repeat it this year? Because we did submit it last year around the Stat SA's, utilizing Stat SA's information to develop this. I just want to get a sense, are we going to do something about that or just leave it?
Stat SA is a line department of national government, so I would put it in the appropriations bill if we feel we need to repeat it. So I think let us leave it for that particular purpose if we are going to repeat the same recommendation. Honorable Bateman.
Thanks, Chair. I would like to sound the committee out on one of our learning points from our visit to India, which was around having some kind of tracking system for the recommendations and the responses and regular feedback, and wonder whether that's something we might consider putting into our recommendations.
If
I may add,
yeah, you were saying, Honorable Patron?
Well, one of the strengths of that system was it was published on a website, I believe, so that there would be public scrutiny of what the recommendations are and what the status is with the feedback on them. So something we had spoken about.
100% Honorable Bateman. Again, in this particular instance, it's not a matter of the Division of Revenue bill. I think this is a project that, as a committee, we can include it as part of our strategic plan to say we want to implement it. It's actually a recommendation to Parliament, because in essence, it is, as you will recall, the conversation we had with the Lok Sabha to say that a tracking mechanisms of recommendations to be able to be digitally available and to be able to be in place. May I ask of you, because it's not a recommendation on the Division of Revenue bill or necessarily even on the Appropriations bill, there is a committee. We have a special meeting to deal with how, because I think all the members in the committee endorse that view. We need to put together a particular project plan. I would recommend that we present it to Parliament so that we could say this is how the implementation goes. It speaks to reporting mechanisms, how committees interact, and how we track recommendations in general. I'm not sure it is a unique matter to the Division of Revenue bill, but I certainly endorse the view that you are saying that we need that project plan on the table. I would 100% say if we could be able to have an in-committee meeting, sit down with officials from National Treasury, in the same way as TAS was implemented, that this be a matter that can be put together. I would like to see that happen. Is that agreeable to you? I don't think it's specific for this bill as it sits, but I certainly think as a project and as an implementation plan, it's certainly something I want to work towards. And in preparation before even the BRRR process, that we put the matter together, because I think all of us are frustrated. We can write many of these reports every year, every day. And then when nothing happens about it, then we might as well just say, whatever the recommendation we want to make, and do it now. So I'm going to request honorable members. Here, we are going to put together a working committee that will deal with this particular matter. I would like to see that happen. I really would, I'm committed to that. Honorable Ntuli?
Chair, thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. As we are concluding, Chair, I'm sorry for the noise. They are cutting grass outside here in the park. I would please request, Chair, to share my 2 points, which is I think which will be S14 and 15 with the Secretariat. I request. I will.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we've agreed on that point. You are more than
my
welcome
pledge.
to. Yeah.
Thank you.
So with no further inputs on this matter, may I request that if there's a member who would like to move for the adoption of the report as it is with the amendments that have been made today, noting the fact that, of course, there are textual coherence, all of that before the report is ATC, there are no spelling errors, all of those types of things. Is there a member who would like to move for the adoption of the report? Honorable Wakeling, your hand is up. You are recognized.
Chair, thank you. I adopt the report. I recommend the report. No, I move for the report with the adjustments that were made. Thank you, Chair. It's been a long week.
If you adopt it, it is your report. It's not the committee report.
I'll stand for it.
But if you are willing to, Honorable Mpili, you are recognized. Will you second the motion to adopt the report?
Yes, I do. Second the motion to adopt. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I recognize Honorable Douglas.
Good day, Mr. Chair. Please register Mkonto Sizwe's objection to the Division of Revenue Bill as an austerity-driven, anti-poor, structurally biased against local government budget. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you very much, Honorable Douglas, with the objection of the NKP party. Honorable Mkonto, your hand is up.
Thanks, Chair. Please note the objection of the EFF. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The objection of both the EFF and the NKP party both noted. By all accounts, all the other parties that sit on the platform will fully support the adoption of the report with the objections of NKP and EFF. It is well within that, honorable members, that the report is as such duly adopted. Honorable Mashile, Mr. Maubane, may I ask, given that those that adopt the report, will you clean it up? And I want to thank the Secretariat and Mr. Makakula for working extensively to get this report ready. There is a request from the Minister of Finance to consider. The request is that for Parliament to have adopted the report on the special appropriations certainly before the 15th of May. It is in that light I will then update where the report is at, its status, and where we go, and whether the committee can have a special sitting to be able to consider that. Honorable Douglas, your hand is back up.
Apologies, legacy.
Okay. And Honorable Waitsin, your hand is still up. Okay. I think I'm assuming with that in mind, going back to the agenda, the report is just really adopted. I would like to move for the closure of the meeting. I want to thank honorable members for your patience in this regard. We do have a meeting on Tuesday, the 31st. That meeting will resume at 8 a.m. because it's a virtual platform and it's a feedback on National Treasury. I will give you feedback further on the special appropriations bill, A, when it's ready, B, when it's circulated, and C, when the committee can consider it, given that it's a short report. I thank all the honorable members for the work that you have done, and I want to appreciate the members who came in to support in the adoption of the report, who are not regular members of our committee. And I think that then, honorable members, the Division of Revenue Bill, the report on the Standing Committee on Appropriation has been duly adopted. Thank you very much. Please enjoy your weekend, and my condolences to parties who are going obviously for funerals, etc. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Pasake Mnati, everyone.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.